Hi YouTube, this is Raven. I'm a survivor of a 16-year marriage to a covert narcissist, and now I'm in the middle of a divorce from a covert narcissist. And I've done a series of videos called Narcissists Are Ridiculous. I think this might be number 6 in the series. And, normally I'm in my sweatpants and my pajamas because I'm a full-time nursing student. I work, and I'm a single mom. So I don't have a lot of time to do videos. So when I do them, normally the kids are in bed and I'm in my comfy clothes. I'm done studying for the evening, and I just want to kind of come in and do a video. And so I'm kind of dressed up this evening because I went out to dinner with my parents because my dad had a birthday this week. So I had a few minutes, so I thought I'd sit down and do a video. Apparently my cat wants to be in the video. Jasper, this is YouTube, Jasper. He, for some reason, when I sit down, he always wants to sit on my lap. Cats are like nature's narcissist, the lovable kind. All right, you gotta go. But, so I've done a series, Narcissists Are Ridiculous. And what I'm saying about narcissists being ridiculous is that they don't have that self-awareness. They do things and act ways that mystify everyone else. They might be rude in a situation they shouldn't be rude. They just don't take other people's feelings into consideration. Or, in the case of my narc, he has a little bit of OCD, and he can be kind of do some crazy things at times. But this is kind of a hodgepodge of things that narcissists are ridiculous. And if you watch my other videos, there's a video that I talk about, why my narcissist and I are getting a divorce. He attempted suicide. I think it was a manipulation tactic. He tore up our bedroom, yanked the mattress off the bed with me, and it pounded the mattress as hard as he could. When I said I was going to take the kids to my mom's house, he said, "You're going to take the kids, I'm going to kill myself." So he went and got a loaded shotgun and put it in his mouth. And after I talked him out of suicide, he ended up in the emergency room, and then he ended up in the mental hospital for a week. Well, when he got out of the mental hospital, this is the ridiculous thing. His parents came and picked him up. His parents demanded the guns. They wanted the guns back. One of the guns he had used on himself. The other two were what they called family heirlooms, but they were really pieces of crap. They were just junk, but they wanted them back. And it was very strange because, if my son had put a gun in his mouth and tried to kill himself, the last thing I want is that gun back. But they wanted them back. They had to have those guns. And they drove down to my parents' house, and they're demanding the guns back because I'd given them to my parents because I was worried that when Narc got out of the mental hospital, if he wasn't, suicidal anymore, it might be homicidal because, sometimes those two things go together. And I didn't want a weapon in the house he could use on me or the kids. So I had given my parents the guns, for safekeeping. They go down to demand these guns back, and my parents are saying, "You better make sure that he doesn't have access to these." And they said, oh, he looks fine to us. He looks fine to us. There's nothing wrong with him. And I was like, yeah, because you're a mental health care professional, you can tell when someone's suicidal and when they're not. But, they wanted these guns back. And it was weird because, whenever they gave something to you, they wanted it back if you were done with it. There was a time they gave us, I call it the murderous treadmill, or the homicidal treadmill. They gave us a treadmill that was worn out, and I was running on it, and the belt stopped and slipped and then went really fast, and it threw me off the treadmill like I'm Wile E. Coyote, just like, whoosh, and I hit my head, really hard. I ended up in the emergency room because I thought that I had, broken my cheekbone. But, and I told him, it's like, you can take this thing. I don't want this thing in my house. And, so they took the murderous treadmill back, and as far as I know, they're still using it. But, that was just weird that they wanted things back. If they gave you something, it wasn't really a gift. They were going to want it back. But my narc mother-in-law, she's a narcissist or either has borderline personality disorder. I've talked about her in other videos. She has boundary issues. You can check out Narcissists Are Ridiculous Part 5 for the boundary issues. But there was one year I drew a line in the sand. I have this tradition with my kids that every year we buy a gingerbread house kit and we, decorate a gingerbread house. And this was the last Christmas that we were together before everything went down with the suicide attempt and the divorce. and we were having Christmas at their house. And I, called her up and I said, okay, yeah, and I'm bringing a gingerbread house for my kids and the cousins to decorate. Silence. And then, oh, no, that won't do. No, we're not going to do a gingerbread house. I was like, no, I wasn't asking your permission. I was saying, I'm bringing a gingerbread house. You don't have to buy it. I'm bringing it. I'm buying it.
Oh, no, we don't have room enough in our house for a gingerbread house.
I was like, it's not 3,000 square feet. It's like 1 foot by 1 foot. It's like 12 inches. It's fine. There's plenty of room.
No, I don't have a table that it could go on.
I was like, well, I'll bring a table. I'll bring a card table. It's no big deal.
No, it's going to be messy. I don't want a mess.
And I was remembering when, she had put eggnog all over, eggnog or, what was it? I called it egg cement. It was the Yorkshire pudding. It looked like eggnog, all over my cabinets. But yet she doesn't want the mess that a gingerbread house is going to make. And, so finally I said, look, I'll do it in the garage.
Oh, no, we're going to have dinner in the garage. I'm setting up tables in the garage for all of us to eat and have dinner.
So I finally let her know, I'm bringing the gingerbread house. Bringing it. It's going to happen. Get used to it. Yeah, and she got very mad about that. But then, after I brought the gingerbread house and I did it, she wasn't as upset about it. But I know what it was. She was like a little kid. And, she wants, the attention of, that
I'm the hostess. Look what I've done. I've decorated. I've made this gorgeous meal. Worship me.
That's kind of what she wanted. And that gingerbread house was taking the spotlight off of her. Just this little gingerbread house, And so she's like a little kid, just pouting, because of the gingerbread house. But my narc, he's also, kind of very ridiculous about a lot of things. And one of the things is that he doesn't really know our kids very well. He's their dad, but he doesn't know a lot about them. Because he doesn't really spend a lot of time getting to know who they are. And last summer, while we were going through all the child custody, he was, taking the kids to one place after another, either the beach or, an amusement park. And he picked them up and took them to an amusement park because he was going to ride roller coasters with his kids. We're going to ride roller coasters. Our kids don't ride roller coasters. They'll ride like the smaller ones, but they're not going to ride the big ones. And I guess he didn't realize that our 7-year-old child was not tall enough to ride a roller coaster. And the 9-year-old, she was tall enough, but she didn't want to ride the roller coasters. And, the amusement park near where we live actually, I think, has the record holder right now for the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the country. And, so of course he takes her to this amusement park and he wants her to ride all these roller coasters. And, I can just see my daughter probably staring up at this thing like, like no way in your HE double hockey sticks, what she would say. And so he brought them back early and he was mad. And he gets out of the car and the kids get out and I can tell my daughter's been crying. She's upset. He gets out and he's just so mad. He stomps over to the car. She wouldn't ride anything today. She was so unreasonable. And it's all because of this. Now, I know what he meant by this. He was talking about this mess, Raven. This mess that you've created. This divorce. That's what he meant. That was all my fault, because our daughter won't ride a roller coaster because it's all my fault. Everything's always my fault. And he was just like a little kid. I'm going back to the amusement park to get my money's worth. So, and he went back to the amusement park to get his money's worth. How dare his children, do this to him, But, he's ridiculous, like most narcs. And one of the things that he's doing that's ridiculous right now is he's destroying any resale value of the condo that he's living in. His parents bought this condo for him because it was a week. Now, it's a week after he'd put a gun in his mouth, tried to kill himself, had been in the mental hospital. They take him real estate shopping. To spend $125,000 of our money, the marital property money, on a condo. Now, I wouldn't let him do it. I didn't sign the free trader agreement to let him do it, so his parents bought the condo for him. But, I can see this, when you leave the mental hospital, you have to fill out a contract for safety. It's basically a contract you have saying that if you feel suicidal, you're going to call a friend, you're going to go to the hospital, whatever it is to mitigate the chances of suicide. And I can just see this contract for safety. Call a friend, go to the emergency room, spend $125,000 on a condo that I don't have. It's ridiculous. No banker would loan you money, knowing that you've been suicidal a week before. But, narcs are ridiculous. Well, what he's done is that he's moved in his girlfriend into this condo. And his girlfriend has 2 large dogs. And the dogs, rather than walk the dogs, because he's too lazy to do that, the dogs go out onto the back patio and they poop and pee on the concrete. And he leaves it for days and days and days. My daughter says it smells. And so then he has to go and he has to clean it up with Clorox, and it starts it all over again. And before, the girlfriend moved in, he had went and got my daughter 2 kittens. Because my daughter loves cats. This cat was sitting on my lap. He's her baby. I mean, she calls him her baby. And so he went and got, cats, because he couldn't be outdone by me that I had the cats. He had to go get cats. Well, as soon as girlfriend moves in with these 2 large dogs, he threw those kittens outside. He put them outside on this patio with the dog poop and the pee, puts a bowl for their food and water, and puts their litter box out there and leaves them. Well, of course, one of the kittens disappears. And some neighbors found the kitten's collar on the road, so, probably the kitten got run over. And the second kitten, my daughter said the second kitten would sit outside the sliding glass door, with its paw up, going meow, meow, meow. And she said, Mom, she's saying help, help, let me in, let me in. It was heartbreaking, and the kitten would sleep in her litter box. And I had told him, it's like, let the kitten just come live here. Let it come live here, I don't care. But then it disappeared too. And he made up the story, and he told them, well, no, they didn't get hit by a car. They went to live by the river with the other cats. The tribe of cats. I'm like, oh, yeah, cats have a tribe. I didn't realize that. They were tribal animals. So, my daughter is not stupid. She did not just fall off the turnip truck. She knows that her kittens probably died. But, he did this because, to please his girlfriend. But at least maybe a little bit of karma has come back to bite him now. My daughter got lice, and it was horrible. I had to comb through her hair. I had to use the shampoo twice on her. It was a pretty bad case of lice. A lot of the other kids at school got it. And he got very scared about the lice. And so he tells my daughter, and to her face, my mom heard him, and he says, I'm going to build you a separate room in the condo so that you won't give your stepsister lice. Because my daughter's having to share her room with the living girlfriend's daughter who's moved in too. And, rather than just deal with the lice like I did, having to launder everything and treat for lice. Oh, no. He's just going to build her a separate room, which is an illegal room because it has no windows. A bedroom is supposed to have a point of egress, 2 points of egress, a window and a door. Didn't pull a permit on this, So, he's destroying any resale value that this condo has, And my daughter says, he lets, the dogs will pee on the carpet. The dogs, dog fur everywhere. He doesn't clean it up, because, he's a slob. But what was hilarious was when he came to pick up the kids, he had shaved his head. And I remember this is the same man who would not go to the barber shop to get his hair cut when we were married. He had to go to the salon, because he loves his hair. He loves his hair. He shaved his head. I'm like, why'd you shave your head? It's just a prophylactic measure. It's just taking precautions. And I was sitting there thinking, you got lice. You got lice, and your girlfriend was not going to comb through your hair to get rid of the lice. Oh, that's awesome. So, if you're still Christmas shopping right now and you're thinking about a gift for that special narc in your life, just think that just like genital herpes, lice is the gift that keeps on giving. Well, that's all for now. Be vigilant, be safe, take care, happy holidays.